We're so pleased that you joined Elevate Church tonight. We really pray that you have a great experience and that you continue to tune in to all that God has for you.
Of all great Redeemer's praise. I will sing the glories of your name. 1,000 tongues are not enough to sing of all you've done. I will sing the great Redeemer's praise. I will sing the glories of your name. 1,000 tongues are not enough to sing of all you've done. 1,000 tongues are not enough to sing of all you've done. 1,000 tongues are not enough to sing of all you've done. Hey, to sing of all you've done. Hey.
This Easter, more than ever before, we want to share with those around us the good news that God sent his only son Jesus to save us and give us new life. At a time when so many of our seeming certainties have been shaken by a global pandemic and the resulting economic recession, we want to share really good news. Easter is always the center point of Christian experience and the Christian story. And Jesus' death on the cross and his resurrection changed everything. In coming into flesh, living as one of us, and dying a cruel death, Jesus showed that he is able to fully identify with every part of our humanity. In rising from the dead, he showed his power over sin and sickness, even death itself, and offered a new way of living, fresh and eternal hope for all who put their trust in him. Christians all over the world will celebrate those great truths this Easter. But the fact remains, billions of people, many of them within our reach, our family and friends, contacts, work colleagues, neighbours, don't know or don't understand or haven't yet experienced the love of Jesus for themselves. That's what really good news is all about. For us to come afresh to Easter in order to share it with everyone we can, so that they have a personal opportunity to hear the message of God's love, consider the life and death of Jesus and his call into their life to follow him. So we're asking every Elim church to join us, to use and make the most of all the elements of the Really Good News initiative. The testimonies in March, personal stories from real people, from real places of how Jesus has changed them. Easter services. There'll be a host of online resources designed to complement your Easter worship and outreach. And our first national Alpha course online, following on from the impact of the stories and Easter encounters, an amazing opportunity for an Alpha course you can deliver online for those that you're in contact with. That's really good news. A national team are already working to bring together a dynamic program that can make this Easter the most fruitful yet. Will you sign up to be a part of Really Good News? Start sharing with your church what it's all about. Begin to get your church praying for this Easter to be a time of breakthrough in your community. As so many, after the trauma of the last year, are seeking for new life and hope out of the pandemic, we have the opportunity to reach more people than ever with the gospel in the months ahead, and to advance as one movement together on mission. Now that is really good news.
So growing up out in Western Sydney, it was a bit rough, and after going through a miscarriage and a meth addiction and my best mate committing suicide, going from absolutely nothing and finally having something, being Jesus, is incredible, and I've got to share that with others. Experiencing living in nothingness is a scary place. The place that I've come from provides relatability with these other people that have gone through such turmoil, such hardships. That relatability provides empathy, not just sympathy. There's definitely like divine appointment where God, Holy Spirit prompts you to reach out and share the gospel with someone, but there's also those moments where you can just see that someone's heart is so broken and they need to experience that joy that I experienced, right? I love going down to the skate park and seeing opportunity to share about Jesus and jumping on it. I've got a really unique way of doing it. I've always got some chalk sitting in the back of my car. Often it's young boys down at the skate park that I will speak with, and I will seriously just say to them, hey, do you guys know what the meaning of life is? And they're like, no, of course I don't know what the meaning of life is. And I'll say, well, would you like to know? Having one person there, then their friends sort of congregate and you end up with 3 or 4 guys standing there. And with the chalk, I say, hey, in 5 years' time, what do you want to have done? And they give me a bunch of things, and then 10 years, and then in their lifetime, and we get these list of things in chalk. And I then say, you live your life in one of 2 ways. You either live your life with purpose or without purpose. There has to be a purpose creator. And I don't know about you guys, but if there's a purpose creator, I want to know who that is. I'll then go in and essentially say, because of all the bad things that I've done, like the meth addiction, the hardships that I have been through, I'm not able to get to him. There's only one possible way, and that's if that purpose creator comes for us. And he did. And they're like, whoa, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, his name was Jesus, and he died on a cross so that you could be reconciled with him. They can sometimes be really, really open, like, yeah, that's awesome. They can also sometimes have questions, which is great. And I always try to have a Bible as well, just to be able to give it to them and say, hey, take this. It will open up doors for you. Understanding where I've come from and not being shameful of that has enabled me to be able to share about Jesus. And I know that if us as Christians can embrace those things, that the gospel can be shared to many people. Those moments are what people can relate to and really help you to share the gospel with others.
We've come to bless the Lord. Give
and good evening, Elevate Church. It is so good to be with you all tonight. Of course, you can see that I'm joined by a special guest. I'm joined by Ben Duncan. Ben, it's fantastic to have you with us tonight. Really, really pleased. Thank you so much. As you can see, guys, there is social distance within us. We have measured. There's 2 meters between us, just in case you're all wondering. But tonight as over the last few weeks, we've been interviewing people upon their journeys, what life has been like, what challenges they've gone through. And, tonight is going to be no exception. Tonight we've got Ben. And for that reason, Ben, can you tell us, the viewers, a little bit about you, maybe family, etc.? Start from the beginning about you first.
Okay. Wow, that's a big question. I've always been brought up in a Christian home and I've absolutely loved it, but I also have navigated that to try and find my way with my faith and what kind of made me believe what I believed and why I believed it. As a very young child, I had really, really poor health. I was diagnosed with a lung and immune system deficiency that meant life from the get-go was quite difficult for myself in terms of breathing and all these other things. I always remember from a young age being treated under the cystic fibrosis unit at 3 different hospitals. One was in London, Great Ormond Street. One was in Bournemouth, which was Poole Hospital, and Southampton. They were the 3 major ones. And I was in and out of hospital for years and years and years, all the way really up until just before I became a teenager. With stints, I like to say that I grew up with living in a hospital with stints of being able to live at home. It was quite a intense few years where mum and dad were told number of times to get ready, that it was going to be the last time they would see me, and just some really, really horrible stuff for mum and dad. The respect I have for my parents for the way they looked after me it's immense. They were fantastic. They still are obviously fantastic, but they did a really good job. It was a tough one growing up because I ended up missing, I think it was equivalent of about 2 years worth of school. And it meant that I always felt like I was playing catch up. And with that, I'm one of 4. So with that whole taking so much of my parents' time away through illness, I always wore this little chip on my shoulder where I felt like my family were annoyed at me for it and stuff. And it was complete rubbish. I made it up in my own head, but it meant that I always felt like I was an outcast and everyone in my family was amazing. And so from the get-go, it was quite difficult. What else really? Less about me and more about the people around me, I suppose. I have a fantastic wife and a beautiful son who's about to turn 1. A lot of you know Ellie, and for those that don't, she's the better half of Ben and Ellie. She's amazing. I've got 3 siblings. I've just become an uncle myself, which is great, to a little nephew called Caleb. I've got 2 younger sisters and an older brother. The majority of my family live over in Northern Ireland. Ellie and I live here in the wonderful Welsh Valleys. Big up Wales. But as you can tell, I'm not Welsh. I don't sound the smallest bit Welsh, although I do often say the word bud quite a lot now.
That's good. So, tell us, Ben, why you were living in Ireland. So tell us, and I think if my memory serves me correct, you've moved around a fair bit as well.
Yes.
So, how's life's journey? Where's that been? Where's that taking you?
Okay, yeah. So, my mum and dad, my dad's not primarily, he's Irish. He's born and bred in Northern Ireland. My parents live over there and they minister in a church over there. My dad moved away from Northern Ireland when he was 17. I think that was right. He'll probably text me later and tell me it was 18 or 19 or something, but I think it was 17. And he didn't move back for 20 years, or 25 years even. I was still brought up, but I always grew up as a pastor's kid. So we were moving around a lot. I think we worked it out that I went to 8 different schools. And we lived in quite a few places. To name some of them most of them was, we spent time in Bournemouth, in Reading, in Yeovil. I was born in Crewe. We lived in London for a bit. Then we lived just outside of London. Then we lived in a place called Padworth. Then I moved to Bristol independently, went back to Bournemouth to study, and I now live in Wales. So
okay, so you've certainly moved around the country.
Hence the concoction of accent.
So you've certainly moved around a fair bit. Now, Now, you briefly mentioned a little bit about you being a pastor's kid.
Yes.
Now, I've interviewed some people over the last couple of months that have been pastors' kids.
Mm-hmm.
Some have had great experiences, others haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Purely because people had expectations of
Yeah.
them. Has that been like that for you? Or, yeah.
I think when I was younger, I used to not see it as a negative, but I used to always see it as people would say, "Oh, you're Malcolm's son," or "You're Debbie's son," and never "You're Ben." And yeah, for a little while, I used to look at that in the wrong way, where I'd be like, "Oh, stop that! It annoys me," and I would shut off when somebody said that to me. But really, going off to Bible college, where coincidentally my parents really, that's when my dad first ministered in the church by himself, which was called Springbourne, which was in Bournemouth. And going back there, my Bible college was based in the same county. It was very close to it, in Dorset, where one of my dad's books was actually on my syllabus type thing. And what really helped me was seeing the impact that my mum and dad's ministry had on that area and those people there. And some of the lecturers worked with my mum and dad when they were in Springbourne and different things like that. And it was really then that I changed from this, "Oh, Malcolm's son," or "Debbie's son," to, wow, I'm so proud of who my parents are and the ministry of what they have and continue to have and the people that they've impacted. So I think that really, really helped me to change my mindset from I'm fed up of it to I'm so proud of them.
That's amazing. Well, that's great. What a great turnaround, really, for what that was. So, this journey that you've been on, and of course you've moved around a fair bit.
Yeah.
Now, you've settled in God's country, of course.
I think my dad would disagree with that, but yes. No, I'm joking.
South Wales being the number one place in the world. So of course you're there right now. Tell us, what's that? The journey that you've been on, say, the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's that been for you right now? And bring us up to date with I guess what's recently happened.
Okay. Yeah. When I first went off, I'm going to go a bit further back. I do apologise. It adds to the story.
Okay.
I'm a storyteller, you see. No, I'm joking. For myself, when I first started studying, I went off to study something completely different at university. I went off to study biomedical sciences with the intention of doing a postgrad in medicine. So my idea was to go down that route. And after my first year of uni, a lot of stuff happened in the family that made me realise that wasn't where I needed to be, and I needed to be following the calling that God clearly had on my life that I was ignoring, which was into ministry and local church ministry. So I left and I went off to Bible college against all of what I wanted to do. I remember having a conversation with a couple of people around me, and in particular one person said to me, "What are you going to do if this scenario happens, or what are you going to do if that scenario happens? How are you going to have the strength or the knowledge about the Bible to be able to explain that?" So I then realised no matter what I did, I didn't want to go to Bible college for my degree. I wanted to go to learn more about God and to get a deeper relationship with him and follow that into ministry. When I first started, I believed it was youth work. I still think I love youth work. I do a lot of it here. But that quickly changed from youth work to just understanding the Bible more and dropping the qualification that came with that for youth work just to do a pure applied theology degree. In my second year at Bible college, I started studying alongside working at a church in Bristol, where I was the youth pastor in my second year. My first year, I helped out with the young adults, and it kept progressing there. And I could see God's calling on my life into church ministry, but I still knew that it would happen, and I just didn't know when. And I got to this point where I was so caught up about pushing it that I needed that kind of breakthrough to sit on it and say, I know it's going to happen, I just don't know when it's going to happen. Yeah. And that gave me a lot of relief. And then when we left Bristol, Ellie and I took a lot of time to just, because we were newlyweds at the same time, we just took a lot of time to focus on our marriage and just to enjoy becoming married and all the things that came with that. And we went through a couple of hardships where we had some stuff around losing a little one and different things like that really tested us. And taking that step out of working for a church and just attending a church really did help, because it allowed us the time to heal and all these things. And I still knew God was calling me to go forward for something called MIT with Elam. I just didn't know when. And then we very, very fortunately, and obviously God's plan is perfect, met Pete and Adele. and skip forward 2 years. 2 years since I first met Pete in Pontlot Elam Church. I now work with him. I'm a colleague of his. Well, he's my boss. Sorry. And I like to think I help run Elevate, but I don't really do much. And I've just been so blessed to get to know the family. Ellie and I feel so supported by them, and to follow on to now becoming officially a trainee Elam minister.
Which is great. So, that's just halved my workload right there as I can offload directly to Ben. So, of course, Ben, you've now got the privilege of going through this word MIT, which stands for Minister in Training.
Yeah.
For those people that don't know. So, it's a number of years that you've got to go through.
Yeah.
And, of course, you've been assigned to Elevate Church for that to happen.
Yep.
Which is great. So we've got some really exciting plans on how that is going to look. I know right now we're in lockdown, but we can see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we can see there's breakthrough where that soon we're going to, as a church, we'll be back gathering together corporately, and how that looks as well. So we've got some exciting plans that we've got coming. Our leadership met this week, over Zoom, talking about future plans, and therefore over the next coming weeks and months, we got some exciting things to talk about with direction and where that's going. So, Ben, we're going through this series at the minute on Gideon, and tonight is about provision, mission, and vision. Can you just say, in your time right now with where you're at, has God provided for you?
Oh, 100%.
What does that look like? How?
I think the wonderful thing about God's plan, and I said this before, is when you're in it, you sometimes you can't see it, and it feels like a squiggly line that's going all over the place, and you can't follow it. But when you look back on it, you just see how linear it is and how perfect it is. And I think the provision that God has had in our life is just, there's too many examples to say, in one go. But I do firmly also believe that one of the biggest provisions that God has given Ellie and I in our life and marriage is meeting you and Adele.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to big you up because we're
that's great. It's online. To see, yeah.
But no, I do. I think God works in fantastic and wonderful ways, and I think quite a few of them, if not most of them, seem to be through people that He puts in your life.
Yeah. And we do believe, don't we, that God puts people in the right time, in the right places, in the right seasons to be able to help, support, direct, and encourage as and where we need at that time. So that, we both believe that, as a church believe that, and it's exciting at the time and seasons that we're in right now.
100%. You can see it so clearly.
And amazing that even though we've been in a lockdown period where sometimes you think nothing's happening, during this time, this is when you was accepted into MIT.
Yes, yeah.
And you passed your interview stages, and it's almost like you've been given the open door to go on to the next stage, waiting for that season to open. So really excited by that.
Definitely. I mean, I think from the first moment I started looking at MIT to me getting accepted was nearly 3 years, just because of COVID. And then we had our little one, Arthur, and all these different things that changed that. So there's a lot of irony in the fact that everything else is closed when this new door opens.
Absolutely. And mission for us, what's on your heart? What's God really spoken to you and said, Ben, go and do? What's been the thing?
Well, I think one of my core fundamentals that I've always had in my faith is meeting people, meeting the community. As a church, I don't want to be known as a church that's in the community. I want to be known as the community itself. I want people to come to the church when they need help, like they used to. Yeah. There's been this whole thing where if people are struggling or need support, years ago, the first place they would turn is the church. And it doesn't feel like that as much as it used to. Yeah. So for me, one of my fundamentals for mission and what comes next is, and I think we're fantastic at it as a church, and I'm not just tooting our own horn because it's in God's favour, but we need to be, like we are, part of the community.
I love
the
that.
community, not even part of it. Be the community.
Absolutely. So, we've got some amazing things that have happened recently, haven't we?
We've got some,
Baby Bank has really kicked off. We were just talking, we went into the room earlier to see just exactly what's happened. It looks amazing, doesn't it?
And over Christmas, the way we were able to support and stuff.
Yeah, and as Ben just mentioned in the Christmas stuff that we was able to do, thousands and thousands of gifts, pounds worth of gifts. Whilst we're on that vein of gifts, we would just want to say we are getting ready for Easter. I've already had a conversation with a local authority. I've not even spoken to the leadership team about this because it's been so soon. Yet again, they're asking for help and support. So same as we did last year, we're going to be stretching out into our community, supporting them with Easter eggs. So if you want to give any gifts, whether or not that would be financial and the church goes and buys the Easter eggs. Yet again, last year, I think we delivered something like 700 Easter eggs. So we're looking at those kinds of figures again this year. So if you're watching and you know that you can support that, please, if you want to message us on the page, there's someone that will help you right now. If you want to send supports or financial gifts, of course you can do that via elevate.co.uk. Please look on our website and please continue to help and support us in that way. Failing that, if you want to just drop it off at the church, then please do so also. And last thing, Ben, for us is vision. What does the future look like? What, craziness as that is, what does it look like right now?
I think it's one of those things that you can never get right first time. There's always things that tweak and change. But I think one of the things that lockdown has showed us as a church is that we're bound to do things differently. We have to do things differently. I don't think any church will come out of lockdown and be exactly the same as it was before with this new, we've got an online community alongside everything else. And like I was saying to you earlier, I feel like we'll have congregations that meet all over the place that come under the Elevate banner, which is fantastic.
Great.
But I think the biggest thing for me in terms of vision would be we've got to keep up the momentum. We've got to get into those communities. We've got to be reaching people.
Yeah.
And we need to be showing the love of Christ through the relationships we have with people.
Yeah, I almost thought then, Ben, that you were going to talk about church planting.
Oh.
It was almost seemingly that there was that desire for Elevate to go and plant more churches. But
well, he said it, not me. So.
Yeah, mate, you just kind of watch this space, guys. So it's exciting the way God's taken us, and excited to hear on the journey that Ben's been on. I just want to say, Ben, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really, really blessed to have you, both in here and on team of Elevate Church. We're really, really privileged, so thank you so much.
It's an absolute privilege. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to be jumping to as we clear some ground to get ready for the preach tonight. We're going to be jumping to a Bible verse that I pre-recorded earlier, just to give myself a bit of time for clearing this away. So we're going to jump to that. The Lord told Gideon, "With these 300 men I will rescue you and give you victory over the Midianites. Send all the others home." So Gideon collected the provisions and ram's horns of the other warriors and sent them home. But he kept the 300 men with him. The Midianite camp was in the valley just below Gideon. That night the Lord said, "Get up, go down to the Midianite camp, for I have given you victory over them. But if you are afraid to attack, go down to the camp with your servant Purah. Listen to what the Midianites are saying, and you will be greatly encouraged. Then you'll be eager to attack." So Gideon took Purah and went down to the edge of the enemy camp. The armies of Midian, Amalek, and the people of the eastern had settled in the valley like swarms of locusts, and their camels were like grains of sand on the seashore, too many to count. Gideon crept up just as a man was telling his companion about a dream. The man said, "I have a dream, and in my dream a loaf of barley bread came tumbling down into the Midianite camp. It hit a tent, turned it over, and knocked it flat." His companion answered, "Your dream can mean only one thing. God has given Gideon, son of Joash, the Israelite, victory over Midian and its allies." When Gideon heard the dream and its interpretation, he bowed in worship before the Lord. Then he returned to Israel camp and shouted, "Get up, for the Lord has given you victory over the Midianite hordes." he divided the 300 men into 3 groups and gave each man a ram's horn and a clay jar with a torch in it. Then he said to them, "Keep your eyes on me. When I come to the edge of the camp, do just as I do. And as soon as I and those with me blow the ram's horn, blow your horns too, all around the entire camp, and shout for the Lord and for Gideon." It was just after midnight, after the changing of the guard, when Gideon and the 100 men with him reached the edge of the Midianite camp. Suddenly they blew their ram's horn and broke their clay jars. Then all 3 groups blew their horns and broke their jars. They held the blazing torches in their left hands and the horns in their right hands. And as they all shouted, a sword for the Lord and for Gideon. Each man stood at the position around the camp and watched as all the Midianites rushed around in panic, shouting as they ran to escape. Okay, that is a great Bible verse. And of course, we are continuing our theme tonight. I don't know about you, but I am really excited about what that is going to look like, and about how this story is going to really progress with Gideon. Now, first of all, I just want to say, Ben, thank you so much for tonight, for being with us. I know that the people watching are really blessed by that. Guys, please continue to like, thumbs up, hearts up. Give some support as you're going along the screen. I know that Ben would really appreciate that tonight as we're going. And of course, anything that is popping up that is really, God's really giving you some inspiration tonight, I really want you to be encouraged. Tap away. I am excited for what tonight is going to hold. It is great. God is on the move. And guys, we need to get ready for the position. Get ready for the season that we're in right now, because I'm telling you, there's a breakthrough moment that's coming through. And why do I say that? Why do I say that? Because for the last couple of months, I've been saying that God is in the detail. I've been saying that whatever place we're in, position we're in, season we're in, God is in the detail of being able to get us through where we've been going, where God is almost taking us. And tonight, this is a time where we can prove that the hand of God was with Gideon, and he was with it despite maybe some of his own worries, his own anxieties, his own things that are going around in his head. And I don't know about you, but I get that. I absolutely get that. Am I good enough? Have I preached well enough? Have I messed up tonight? Is the job I've done good enough? Have I been supportive? Have I not? Have I picked up the phone to someone? If I've not, I just want to say, if I've missed people out over these months, I'm so sorry. It's been, it's a tough time. But genuinely, guys, I love you all my heart. If I've missed people, I am so sorry. Hopefully, you haven't slipped throughout the net with one of the leadership team contacting you throughout this time. I know how hard it is, and I know that it's a season that we're all going through. And man, I can't wait for us to get together. But we are in this season right now whereby Gideon has listened to the voice of God, and he's walked up this mountain with all of these people, and God says, listen, there's too many of them. You just can't have them all. Why? Because it's not showing my glory in this time and in this season. See, if I allow you to go into battle, this will be about you winning and not me winning. And have we ever gone to a place and gone, it's okay, God, I've got this. I promise I'll give you the glory. And then all of a sudden you do what you think was right, and you forget to go, yeah, God, that was you, wasn't it? Now, I know that there's some super spiritual people going, no, I would never do that. And there's other people with a bit of honesty that goes, yeah, okay, I've been there. And tonight, I just want to say, it's okay when you go through stuff and you think, do you know what, I'm really not good enough, but God will get me through. God will get me through. Now, when we're talking about seasons, I absolutely want to say tonight that God not only gives you support, but he gives you provision for where you're going. He gives you provision for where you're going. So I'm going to go straight to here. So Gideon collected the provisions and ram's horn of the other warriors and sent them home. But he kept the 300 men with him. Pause. Right. What we got to remember is this. Gideon calls, so we're going to go back in time a little bit. Gideon calls for people to come and to support him in the mission that God has said, this is where you need to go. He put the call out. People came and they went with him up to the top of the mountain. They climbed up to the top with all of the provisions that were there. Notice that. There was a whole army that went with them. When they got to the top, God said there was too many of you. Too many. But this is what I think is brilliant. Gideon collected the provisions from the other warriors and then sent them back home. See, the provision, God had already thought, do you know what? We need provision for the mission, for the season. How are we going to get there? How are we going to get all of this stuff up there? I tell you what, we need more people than what we need to actually fight, but we need people to be able to help us to carry this stuff up to the top where we need to go, and then the provisions can be taken away, ready for the people that need them, and those others can be sent back home. Have you ever been in a place where you think, how am I going to get all of this stuff into one location? And it normally requires a phone call. Hey, has somebody got a van? Has somebody got some support? We need, we've got a whole lot of stuff to carry to a place where we're going. And it requires extra help and support. Now, when we get to that place, we offload the stuff from the van. And, of course, the people that helped us can go. Because why? We've got all the stuff with us. Here we are, we're at the top of a mountain, all of the stuff has been taken, all of the stuff has been, God has provided the provision for the place of where they're going. Absolutely brilliant. And then those guys go back home, I almost got like a picture of, right, we've done our job. And some of us need to understand this. Some of us in life, guys, we're foot soldiers. We may not be at the front face chipping away, but we may be the people that help support others as they walk up, and we help them with the equipment to get the job done. When we deliver the stuff off the top of the mountain, we go, right, okay, it's time to go, but thank you so much. Why? Because when the people are at the coal face and they're literally dealing with it right there, right then, it's a place of going, thank you so much, I can do what I'm called to do. But I could never do it without somebody else's help. I could never be the foot soldier and just walk up and drop off because you think, what's my job? And I'm saying right now, people are called to be foot soldiers. People are called to be ones that go up to the top of the mountain to deliver, to drop off the equipment so that somebody else can be able to take it off you and to run with what vision God has given you. And every single person is still part of the mission and the calling of what God has on their life. Man, I'm excited because every single person is involved. No one is left out. Why? Because everyone has a plan and a purpose and a calling on their lives. And even though we think, man, I don't fit into the person that's going to be at the coalface. No, you may not, but you may be the person that can carry the bag. You may be the person that can help someone to get to where they need to get to. You may be the person that's to say, listen, I can't go where you're going, but I'm going to give you some money for fuel. I can't do what is happening, but let me just make you some food, some support, some sandwiches. I don't know, whatever that is, whatever the situation we can step into or what God has for you. Love it, guys. Foot soldiers, so important. God provides the provision for the season of where we're going. Okay, secondly, mission. Mission. What does the mission actually look like? Well, it's really simple. That night, the Lord said, get up and go down to the Midianite camp, for I have given you victory over them. But if you are afraid to attack, go down to the camp with your servant Purah. Now, mission. How many of us go, we're on mission, we believe wholeheartedly God's given us a vision, but It's all very well and good having this great, bold vision, but without mission, the vision will never get done. It's like God's given us a vision to build a new purpose-built family center. Great vision, amazing vision. But without people actually being willing to be foot soldiers and to literally go when God says go, the mission is never going to complete, and therefore the vision will never ever come to fruition. And here goes. When God says, I want you to go, now you've got to bear this in mind. Gideon was a guy that was petrified. He was scared. He was doubting. He was worried. He needed God to say to him time and time and time again, I need you to break through. I need you to show me, God, that you're in control. I need you to do this. I need you to carry me through. Now, I find this a little funny because God already knew that. Of course he did. So because God already knew that, he's already said, listen, for I have given you victory over them. But if you are afraid to attack, go down to the camp with your servant Prue. Okay, the next bit's really great. I don't know if we've got that. It says, listen to what the Midianites are saying, and you'll be greatly encouraged. Okay, so Gideon is really, really scared, because that's just in his nature. He's a doubting person, right? And he goes, God, I just need you to show me again. And God goes, right, okay, this time, I'm going to be one step ahead of you. I'm just going to say, listen, I know you're going to doubt. I know you're going to be worried, but go and listen to what somebody else is going to say. Oh, by the way, you might like what you're going to hear. And it's almost like God's already gone before us for the mission. And it's like, and we're surprised. God's gone before to say, and he's not just gone before with what's just happened. He's gone before. Listen to this really carefully, guys. He's gone before us in the motion that's telling us to go. Firstly. Secondly, he's saying, listen to what is going to be said. He's already saying, listen, I've already ordained there to be those conversations that are going to take place. And knowing that you need to tune your ear into the right things. Into the right things. Oh, and by the way, you are going to be encouraged by what is being said. And I know exactly what's going to happen. Because as soon as you hear what you need to hear, notice that. As soon as you hear what you need to hear. It's almost God going, listen, Gideon, I understand where you're at. I understand that, you're a person that needs encouragement over and over again about the mission that I am sending you on. And therefore, I already know that you're going to doubt. But this time, when I say go, I want you to go and to listen, to walk down and to see. Now, here's the thing. So he's going down for a little sneaky peek. And you've got to bear this in mind. He's really scared, okay? And he's on top of the mountain. And to get some perspective, the Bible's been really great with giving some perspective with what this is like. So as they're on top of the mountains, they're looking down. It says, the armies of Midian, Amalek, and the people of the east had settled in the valley like a swarm of locusts, and their camel were like grains of sand. Pause. Now, if their camels were like a grain of sand, what does that tell you from the picture? It tells you that from where they are, look, guys, they're looking down. So they're a distance away. They've got to choose to go down to the valley, but before they get there, already they can see, man, this is a massive camp. See, and God's already painting the picture for you. There is so many animals down there. There are so many of them that it's piled, it's packed. And whilst they're going down there, there's only one way that any of this is going to ever make any sense, and that's if God does only what God can do. Have you ever been thrown into a situation where you think, man, this is going to be like sink or swim. How am I going to do this? How am I going to get past all of this? This doesn't make any sense to me. And you think, I'm way too deep here. And that is where the best place to be is. Why? Because it's never about you doing what you can do. It's about you being in the picture and knowing that only God can get you through. See, if you're in the picture and you only see 20 camels, you're going to be like, that's cool. No worries at all. But if you go down and you see so many camels that you can't even count them, instantly you start to go, oh my word, how am I going to do this? This is massive. And why there's an air of doubt that appears, but yet only when you step down and you go down into the depth of where you need to get to is the time that God goes, okay, now tune your ear to me. Look at the things I've told you to look at. Listen out for that one thing. And of course, the story goes on, and they were able to hear exactly what was said. And of course, by that, Gideon fell to the floor, kneeled and worshipped God. How amazing. How amazing. God had been in the picture and he carried him through. See, it was only because of the willingness for Gideon to go despite the circumstances. Remember, guys, he was going with far less men. He was looking down and there was so many of what would seem like, grains of sand, which were camels. The camp was massive. So many people were there. And yet it was down to Gideon to go and to take those steps. Why? Because he believed in the mission that God had given. He believed in it. God had got him through before, and he'll get him through now. Okay, final thing, vision. Now, some of us can get a little bit tied up with this, and we're like, okay, what is the vision for what this is right now? It's really simple. The vision is that God's saying, I'm going to give you this land. I'm going to give you this place. But for you to be able to do the vision and to see the vision through, you've got to do the mission. But you need to understand that if you do the mission, I'm going to give you the provision to get you through to do the mission, to see the vision come. Whoa! If we understand that whilst we're seeing the vision that God's got for us, we need to understand that he will not abandon us, but yet he will provide all the necessary things that we need to get us to the season so we'll be equipped to go and to do exactly as God told Gideon to go and to do and to be. Guys, we got to be excited about this tonight. This has got to be encouraging. Why? Because in these testing times and this structure that we're in right now, this is a time and a season that we got a picture of a person like climbing a rock face to the side of me. And as that person is climbing, you're thinking, man, he's got no ropes. There's nothing holding him on. I tell you what is holding him on. He's defying gravity. Everything about him is pulling him down, but yet he's choosing to hang on with everything that he has, because in the detail of holding on, he will get to a place where there will be a breakthrough moment where he can rest and relax. But in the mission to get to the top, he needs to persevere and to fight through. Some of us need to realize that, guys. The journey that we're on is not always going to be easy, but there is going to be challenges. There is always going to be something that's going to come up against. And yet it's how you break through those moments, how you break through those trials, how you get through. You come through the other side and you see, yes, I made it through. But how many of you forget to celebrate because you're too busy going, oh, that was a really hard time. And you focus upon the negative rather than the positive. Guys, it's time for us to break through and to go, do you know, I can see the mission of what is ahead because of the vision that God's given me. And man, hasn't he provided every step of the way. Guys, it's worth celebrating about the place and the season that we're in. Even though we may not feel like it, there are times that God's gone, I've got you through. And I tell you, let's be really simple. Really simple. You wake up in the morning, we should be saying, God, I thank you that you've given me breath in my lungs. God, I thank you that today is a new day. I do not know how today is going to look. I do not know what challenges are going to come. But what I do know is that you are in control and you're going to get me through. How many of us wake up in the morning with that mindset of going, God, I don't know what is going to happen today, or whether or not it's going to be a same old groundhog day that is going to be the same old stuff that I'm just going to do because I can't go out anywhere. And you want to swallow in self-pity because you can't do or say anything. I want to say today, you've got an opportunity to say, God, I thank you for the time and season that we're in. And I am going to embrace this short season because I know that the one I'm going to be going into will be one that will be a challenge, will be one that will be stretching me, will be one that I'll be encouraging, will be one that I'll be able to give, will be one that I'll be able to support. And even though I may not be a person at the coalface, I'll be one who will be a foot soldier carrying through, supporting and encouraging. Guys, this is a time to get ready for the season that we're in. I completely believe that God provides the mission for the vision. As a church, we're moving forward into 2021, and we got some great stuff ahead. And we got some really exciting visions that we've got, and however that looks or is going to look is being talked about right now. But I really want you to be encouraged. I really want you to be encouraged. God's not done with you yet. And sometimes it takes us to intensively tune in to all what God is saying. Don't tune out. Tune in. Exactly as Ben was talking about earlier, he had to make some decisions of what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? What does my future look like? How am I going to get there? Man, he's moved around half the world. But yet, God's called him back to Wales, God's country, and that's exactly where he is right now. And I'm looking forward for Elevate Church being on the journey to help him to be the best that he can be. And God wants you to be the best that you can be. And how we work together in that is exciting. How we move together is exciting. How we embrace and support one another is exciting. So guys, in this season, get ready. Get ready. Because God always provides. It may not be in the way that you want it, but he always provides. God always gives us a mission that we can go to. It may not be one that you could say, I want to be at the front face of that, but I want to be behind. But nevertheless, we can still help. Why? Because if it's a vision that God has given, and it's one that we can all come alongside, help and support, it is exciting. And whether or not it's giving an Easter egg to a child, whether or not it's supporting during this time, we can all play our little part. From the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you to the church for supporting what you've supported during Christmas time for our community. Thank you for the hundreds, thousands of pounds worth of Christmas presents, donations that we've given. Thank you for that. And as a church, we are getting ready to give again to support a vision. And the vision is really clearly right now that children are coming into Easter. And quite simply, we want to bless them. Quite simply. Why? Because life's been pretty hard. It's a challenge. And these guys need a bit of encouragement. And why not? Why shouldn't we do that? Why shouldn't we help someone? And I believe that we can all do that corporately, gather around and make a difference. As a church, financially, we are going to be supporting it as we always do. And we're going to make a difference within this community. Let's make it the best we've ever done. As we move forward past Easter, as a church, I'm looking forward to regathering. I'm looking forward to coming back together. But I'm really looking forward for what is to come. I am really, really looking forward to what the church is going to do in 2021 and 2022. Guys, I hope and pray that you've been blessed tonight. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for all that you do. Remember this, the best is yet to come.
I'll raise a hallelujah in the presence of my enemies. I'll raise a hallelujah louder than the unbelief. I'll raise a hallelujah. My weapon is a melody. I raise a hallelujah. Heaven comes to fight for me.
I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm, louder and louder. You gotta hear my praises roar.
Up from the ashes, hope will arise. Death is defeated, the King is alive. I raise a hallelujah with everything inside of me. I raise a hallelujah. I will watch the darkness flee. I raise a hallelujah in the middle of the mystery. I raise a hallelujah. Oh, sing, oh, fear you lost your hold on me. I'm gonna sing in the middle of a storm, louder and louder. You're gonna hear my praises roar. Up from the ashes, hope will arise. Death is defeated, the King is alive. Oh, the King is alive. Oh, sing a little louder.
Sing a little louder.
Oh, sing a little louder.
Sing a little louder.
Sing a little louder.
Sing a little louder.
Oh, sing a little louder.
Sing a little louder.
Oh, sing a little louder.
In the presence of my enemies,
Sing a little louder.
louder than the unbelief.
Sing a little louder.
My weapon is a melody.
Sing a little louder.
Heaven comes to fight for me.
Oh, sing a little louder.
In the presence of my enemies,
Sing a little louder. Louder than the unbelief. Sing a little louder.
my weapon is a melody.
Sing a little louder.
Heaven comes to fight for me.
Oh, sing a little louder. Oh, I'm gonna sing in the middle of the storm.